Hey guys, welcome to Celia's Playlists. Today I am here with Sadact, who is a DJ from the southeast UK. How's it going today?
Hey, yeah, good. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good. These are some of my favorite days. I get to meet a lot of really cool people, so thank you for being here.
That's all right. We were just talking about your range of chats today. Sounds pretty varied. I'm
Oh
enjoying it.
yeah, I'm learning so much about like different people and the different I guess ways people function in their own little part of the music industry. So, with that being said, would you be able to tell me a little bit about your musical history?
Yeah, sure. I moved down to Brighton, in the UK in 2006 from Southport, to study songwriting at a music college, and ended up sticking around. Like Brighton is a really cool place, very good music scene, and I became a DJ. So that was roughly 15 years ago now. So I'm getting on a bit, but I'm still going. And the past couple of years, I just really wanted to start producing music. Obviously, my love of DJing sort of fueled that. But I really wanted to go in, a more electronic direction with the music I make, which is mainly sort of UK garage, breakbeat, bits of house. So it's kind of all encompassing sort of electronic, I'd say. Yeah.
Very cool. So I know that a lot of people like there's always a back and forth of if they should go to college for music. Do you think that your college experience has like helped you with now the part of like writing your own and producing your own music?
Yeah, for sure. So I only went there for a couple of years, but it's called the Brighton Institute of Modern Music, and that's expanded now. So it's all over Europe now, I believe,
Oh,
and it's
cool.
doing quite well. But that was a really good experience to learn from some of the tutors there and meet a lot of like-minded people. It was really good, and a lot of the teachers were sort of ex-roadies who like to tell their stories of back in the day when they were rock stars, and yeah, it was quite fun. But yeah, Brighton's a pretty small place, so made a lot of friends there, and yeah, continued that friendship and started making music with people. Yeah,
Very cool, very cool. I feel like people like don't always realize that one of the biggest things from going to school for something like that, because I went to school for video production and
yeah.
TV and film, is the network that you get from that. So I'm glad that you were able to keep up with some of those some of those contacts for other parts of your career.
Yeah, for sure. To be honest, that was like the main benefit of going. Like I did learn a lot in terms of songwriting and the technicalities of it, I guess, and the practical aspects of it. But it was mainly about the people I met and sort of forming those relationships and yeah, making music with those people.
Which is really awesome. And I want to, we will maybe we'll touch on that later. But I want to move a little forward. So DJing is not always a direction that people in the music industry go because like you're working with either other people's music or samples or stems or all of these different things that are more computer based. What drew
Yeah.
you to becoming a DJ specifically?
So it's purely my love of music. I was working in a lot of bars back in the day, and they'd have DJs come in and out at the weekends, and I thought, well, I could do that. I'd love to do that, and they got paid more than the bar staff, so it was kind of like, from that point of view, like my love of music and making a little bit of extra cash, like to start with, was like a good incentive. So as a regular, like at a lot of the venues around town, and that kind of developed into me creating my own DJ and events business. So I've run that for like over 10 years now. And from doing that, like I do a lot of weddings and private
Yep.
functions, which I enjoy, but sometimes I have to grin and bear it, you know what I mean? And there comes a point where I just want to play what I want to play. So that kind of, yeah, that sort of spurred me on to sort of start producing really and making like the music that I would like to hear. Um, And yes, I started producing like a couple of years ago, and I've got the bug now. Like I'm getting targeted with all the plugins online, and I don't have a studio. I do everything like on my laptop, on the sofa mainly. After the kids are gone.
That's the best place because it's nice and
Yeah,
relaxing. I want to
yeah,
touch on one thing with the DJ events business because I actually
mm,
started my career in a DJ events business.
yeah,
I was the Zap Shot photographer, so I would go and I would
yeah,
take the pictures and they would go on the screen. But hanging out with the DJs and seeing what they were doing was one of my favorite parts of the entire event
yeah,
because you really have control over the room if you think
yeah,
about it. Like, you're catering the experience and you're making sure that you're reading the room and making sure that everyone is like, feeling the vibe. So
yeah.
could you talk a little bit about like, why it's important to, as both a performer and a DJ, I guess, be able to do that?
Yeah. So when I first started DJing, it was like I was quite a shy person, I'd say, and like being the center of attention, even if people weren't paying attention, I was a bit like I didn't really take well to that. But like as the years went on, like I just realized how important a job it is. Like no matter like where you're playing, um, you you can be and you can't be like the center of attention. Like if depending on the venue, if it's somewhere where people having something to eat, and you kind of want
Mm-hmm.
to like adjust what you're playing to suit that. But equally, if you're playing in a club, then it's all about the music.
Mm-hmm.
So like I found having to adapt the type of stuff I play uh, like quite challenging but really rewarding because the DJ has like a lot of power to
Oh yeah.
wield, like for good or bad. And if you get something wrong, you get something wrong, and if you get it right, then it's an amazing feeling, like seeing people like connecting through music that you are playing. Yeah,
That was my favorite part of it. And I would literally, it would be the three of us. It would be me, the DJ, and the MC on the other side of him. And we would just sit there and we would like look out from behind the booth and we would be like, all right, what's going to happen next? What do we need? What do we need? Ariana Grande, like something like that. Not always Ariana Grande, but
yeah,
I was a big Sweet 16 Zap Shot photographer. So like
right,
my
okay,
heyday was like when like Ariana Grande Problem was out. So like that, if that
yeah,
gives you a
yeah,
time frame, that gives you a time frame. But it really does. I feel like influence you a different way coming from that kind of background. So kind of taking it full circle because like you're being the one that's providing the experience. How does
yeah.
that now transfer over into your producing and how you've been approaching the work that you're doing now?
Yeah, so like I said to you before, I feel like I kind of did it a bit backwards. Like,
Mm-hmm.
excuse me, like I should have started producing first and then gotten into DJing. That seems like the logical sort of path to take um, to start playing your own music. But I just came to a point where I was just yeah, a bit. I love all types of music and playing other people's music and like curating playlists and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like you do. And I love doing that. But I felt like I had like quite a lot more to give, like personally and creatively. Um, and that's why like a couple of years ago when I first started like making like electronic music, it was just really rewarding and having like a creative output again, which I didn't have for a number of years. Like I used to be in bands like over the years. Like as an example, I used to be in a folk band. I used to
Oh,
play in
that's
a
fun.
hardcore band. I've been like grunge bands, like all sorts. So it's for me like it's never been limited to one genre of music. But I feel like currently I'm just so involved in like the electronic music scene. That's what is like getting me excited. And that's where I feel that I can offer the most. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
I gotcha.
Um,
I gotcha. So
yeah,
I know that, like, especially with what you were just saying with the playlists and the different kinds of music and other people's music, you have a very wide scope being a DJ of the different kinds of musics that are out there.
Mm.
How has that kind of like now I honestly think that you probably did it in a smarter way. Actually, I'm gonna go on a mini tangent. You learned people first. You
Yeah,
learned
that's
people
interesting.
before learning how to make music for people. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's actually probably a smarter way because like I did a whole stint of video work where I was doing events where I learned people. And then I
yeah,
also was like interviewing 1,000,001 people because I was the local shooter for like advertising companies, and they would just send me to different businesses and I would
yeah,
talk to
yeah,
people. So you essentially just did the people research, and now you're starting to get into the producing so that you can actually use those skills towards creating for people, which is really awesome. So
yeah.
how do you like how do you approach your producing now? Like what is your kind of like writing process or your producing process or your mixing process? Whatever you however you go about it, how's that go?
Yeah, so initially it was like pretty overwhelming because I've never had like Ableton. I've never been like very technically able like on doors and stuff. And I think that was like a big stumbling block for me actually getting started was to actually like just do it. Um but once I started like getting the basics and sort of trying to figure out my own sound. I think that's what really sort of spurred me on to go further. So I mean, my writing process is kind of sit down at the laptop and I get some inspiration from other tracks. Like I've got a Spotify playlist full of like tracks, like reference tracks and like little samples here and there, um, with like the direction I want to go in. And it just kind of evolves from there. It's like you get into this like flow state, which is like really addictive. And I could sit there for hours and do it now, and just like keep. I just really enjoy it. So it's interesting because I make my music once my kids have gone to bed, and like it's the best time of day, or, well, of night to do it. And that specific time of night, there's just something that is really great for the creative process, I find. So yeah, once I've started, I'm fine, and I just like keep going, and I'm yeah pretty productive.
That's really
Yeah.
cool. I like that you mentioned it. It's kind of like a flow state because I feel like that's a term that I've also heard in like sales. Like if you
Mm,
are in a flow state, then you are going to be able to attract people, and you're able to do certain things that are at the top and the peak of like what you do. So I think that's cool that you're able to do that, and you're able to do that remote from home from a laptop, which is awesome. So
yeah.
like when you're in that state, like how do you make some of your creative decisions? Like I know that especially in electronic, you can change your tones, you can change like everything about everything in front of you. So kind of
Mm,
like what influences those types of choices that you're making? Is it like the mood you're in? Is it like the
mm.
idea you have? Where's that come from?
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like a lot of it is subconscious. I work at a dance music station in like radio station. So, and I've been there since like 2020, which was like obviously COVID was happening, and um, there weren't many opportunities to gig anywhere. So a lot of people got into radio, including me, and I ended up like helping out in the office, like doing programming and working with other artists. And I feel like that heavily influenced like the direction I wanted to take. Um, because at the radio station, I'm involved heavily in the playlist there and the rotation of new artists. So hearing a hell of a lot of new music like every week, and it's all in a similar sort of vein. So yeah, that's been a huge sort of inspiration for me, really.
That's pretty cool because like that's kind of similar to what I'm doing with the Void. Like, I have specifically what I'm doing is with independent artists. I'm hearing everything from everywhere. And
Yeah,
it's really been like, not that like expanding my palette is like the correct word, but like expanding like my knowledge base. Like,
yeah,
it's people don't realize how much you learn from others and
yeah.
the choices that they make. And I feel like, even if you're not actively listening, you're listening to these songs for work, but you're picking up on the little things that are going to help you in your own writing process.
Yeah, for sure. It's just the kind of thing, the kind of tracks that seep into your mind, and they just like they're just always there. And I think like I've got quite a few friends who are DJs, and I follow them on Instagram and whatever, and like they're hugely sort of influential. Like to see like the um like how well they're doing at the moment, and sort of being in that sort of social media bubble is kind of like it's quite inspiring, like to see people doing well from like the music that I want to make, and that definitely has a sort of it, yeah, it's definitely inspirational. Yeah,
It's always good to surround yourself, especially online, with things that are going to motivate you. I on TikTok, I follow like 1,500 accounts. And everyone's like, your numbers. Or even like on Instagram, like since I started the playlisting project, I've been following a bunch of people. And I'm
yeah,
like, my numbers, my numbers. I'm getting to see all of these different motivated people like at some of them at the top of their craft, like,
mm,
putting things out daily, and it keeps me
yeah,
motivated. And I'm glad that you have that motivating factor too, because that's an important thing. Because once the motivation leaves, it gets really hard to be creative, and like
mm.
creative blocks can be like a huge issue. Have you run into that being an issue with creative blocks?
Um, no, no. Funnily enough, I
I'm
haven't.
glad.
It's just like there's just so much out there that you can draw on. I've just never found myself being in a creative block. Perhaps in the future, but for me, there's just so much yeah to draw on. Like whether it's music production tools, other tracks, ways to produce, and from being a DJ over the past however many years, I've definitely yeah got an inspiration from other people's tracks as well. So for me, like the real creative blocks come in social media and having to post like constantly. Because now you're not just an artist, you wear so many hats as an
Hmm.
independent artist. And that's the bit I find overwhelming, like coming up with content and, having to like talk to the camera and all that sort of stuff. A lot of it does not come naturally to independent artists,
Hmm.
and I feel like that's where a lot of artists get discouraged when they're trying to um, like make it. So yeah,
100%. And that's kind of where I try and come in because, not to like, steal the show and be like, hi, that's what I do. But, like, I work with a bunch of artists, and that is one of the biggest issues that they have. That's
yeah,
why, like, I had a number of years when I was working with the Long Island music scene where I was like, you should be doing this. Like, trust me, if you do this,
mm,
it's going to help. But they didn't take the advice because, like, it felt foreign. They didn't know how to do it by themselves. And, like, the people that have been coming to me, like, they've been taking steps because they're getting more comfortable, because it is practice, because it is something that you have to grow as a skill.
sure,
So it's like one of those things where, like, no one teaches you when you're learning to be an artist or learning music how to speak on camera or even how to speak on stage. It's something you have to learn how to do,
yeah,
but it's also something that now, especially in the current landscape, and also trying to like reach people even further than your immediate area, is really important. So like, we wouldn't have been on this conversation right now if not for social media. But
yeah,
like, if you kept to yourself, or you like, kept to your local scene, like, you're going to stay in the local scene until something else happens.
yeah, for sure. That's why it kind of just blows my mind that from seeing a post on Threads from you, like, oh, she's doing playlists. That's cool. like it and follow you, and next thing you know, you're interviewing artists from around the world and doing this whole project. I just find that incredible.
Well, thank you for being a part of it. I appreciate it very much.
No, it's great. I love it.
Thank you. So, I have to ask my big question. I ask this question every single time, and you could take this in any direction. If you had advice for someone that is starting in music now,
Mm.
what would that advice be? And you could take that in whatever direction you'd like.
Yeah, that's a really tricky one, because the landscape has changed so much, with you know social media and all that sort of stuff. Um, but for me, like the main thing was just like sitting down and doing it. For years, I didn't really start making music because I had a background in sort of indie rock and folk and grunge and whatever, and that's all sort of guitar based music, and I'd find it really hard to sit down with a guitar now and write tune. But as soon as I started using Ableton, uh, and you just draw inspiration from so many places, like whether it's samples or whatever, um, then that really sort of spurred me on. I just needed that initial sort of spark, if you like. Um, so if something doesn't work for you, like you're trying to write a song and forcing it, just try a different approach, like a different instrument, or just on the laptop or computer or whatever you have available. Just try different things and see what works.
I love that because a lot of people have that barrier and they're like, I can't start. I can't do it. I can't. And
Yeah,
I'm glad that you thought one day, let me try something different.
yeah,
Because that's really the big takeaway. Like if something's not working, you can try something else. But like, don't hold yourself back if you want to be making music, I guess.
exactly. Don't put all your eggs in one basket and think, you know, like for years I was like, I've studied songwriting, like I should be able to write a song, like, but I would never find the time to sit down with the guitar, and it just wouldn't happen. Which makes me like wish I'd sort of just bought a drum machine or something and just like tried it a few years ago. But yeah, it's interesting. It's great fun. Like when you get into it and you're just like trying something different. It's yeah, really fun.
Well, I'm glad that you're having like, a great experience with it now because like, that's the goal, having fun and doing the things that fuel you and keep you creative. So I'm glad that you found that. For the viewers, where can they follow you?
So I'm on Instagram. It's at sad two underscores act, because Sadact, all one word, was taken annoyingly. I'm on TikTok, which is another bit of a learning curve for me. But that's Sadact UK. And then, yeah, you can find me on Spotify, if you just type in Sadact, all one word. And I'm on Bandcamp as well. I'm sort of all over the place, but Instagram is the one I kind of use the most, and Threads, of course, to connect with yourself.
Well, I follow you on Threads and Instagram, so I got two for two. Um,
Yeah.
so guys, make sure that you guys are following Sadact and supporting, and I'll see you guys for the next interview. Bye, guys.
Cheers.